In Kyoto, there is a man who wakes at 6 a.m. and does not touch his phone. Not because he has left it in another room, it is on the table beside him. He simply does not reach for it. He sits up slowly. He drinks a glass of water that he placed there the night before. He opens the window, leans against the frame for a moment, and looks at whatever the morning has brought to the street below. Then he puts on his shoes and walks, not far, not fast, not for any reason the fitness industry would recognize as valid, just outside and back. By the time he sits down to eat, 20 minutes have passed since the alarm. His nervous system has made a transition. His cortisol has followed a curve it was designed to follow. His brain has cleared the chemical residue of sleep in a way that no amount of coffee in the following hour will replicate. He has not meditated, not journaled, not done a cold plunge or listened to a motivational podcast. He has simply allowed the morning to begin before asking anything of it. Most Western mornings begin differently. The alarm goes off, and within 60 seconds, often within 30, the hand finds the phone. The first input of the day is notifications. Messages, headlines, emails, social media, a flood of information arriving before the eyes have fully adjusted to the light, before the body has moved, before the brain has completed the neurological transition from sleep that takes, on average, between 15 and 30 minutes to finish naturally. What that flood does to the rest of the day is not small. It is not a minor inconvenience easily corrected by a coffee and a good attitude. It sets a neurological and hormonal baseline that the next 16 hours run on, and once set in the first 10 minutes, that baseline is remarkably resistant to being reset by anything that happens afterward. The second thing on this list is what most people do the complete opposite of without knowing what it costs them. The fourth takes under 60 seconds and changes the body's chemistry before anything else in the morning has had the chance to. Here is the science that makes this more than a wellness preference. Within approximately 30 minutes of waking, the body experiences what researchers call the cortisol awakening response, a natural, necessary surge of cortisol that serves as the biological ignition of the day. It sharpens focus, mobilizes energy, and prepares the system for the demands ahead. It is not a stress response, it is a readiness response. And its quality, how cleanly and completely it runs, determines the cognitive and emotional baseline the entire day operates from. What disrupts it is precisely what most Western mornings begin with. Dr. Tara Swart, neuroscientist and senior lecturer at MIT Sloan, has described the phone check within the first minutes of waking as one of the most neurologically costly habits in modern life. Not because of what is on the phone, but because of the timing. The cortisol awakening response requires a period of low stimulation to complete. A flood of information delivered before it has finished fragments the response, produces a cortisol curve that peaks irregularly, and leaves the nervous system in a state of low-grade reactivity that most people experience as the vague anxiety, flat mood, and shortened attention span that seem to arrive from nowhere and stay for most of the morning. Japan protects this window, not with rules, not with an imposed routine, with 4 things so embedded in the Japanese morning that most people who practice them have never thought to name them as habits at all. They are simply how a morning begins. The first thing is water before anything else. Not coffee, not the phone, not the news. Water, a glass of it, ideally warm, placed the night before within arm's reach of where the morning begins. After 7 or 8 hours without fluid, the body wakes in a mild state of dehydration that is so consistent and so unremarkable that most people have never experienced waking without it. The brain, which is approximately 75% water, runs measurably less effectively when dehydrated, and the first cognitive acts of the day, the ones that set the tone for everything that follows, are performed by a brain that has not had a drop of fluid since before midnight. In Japan, the morning glass of water is not a wellness ritual. It is simply what happens first. Before the kettle, before the coffee, before any decision more complex than picking up the glass. The body receives a signal before the day has asked anything of it. There is enough here. We are not running on reserves. The day can begin from a position of sufficiency rather than deficit. Place a glass of water beside the bed tonight. Tomorrow morning, drink it before the phone is touched. That sequence, water before screen, is worth more to the morning's neurological quality than any supplement that has ever been marketed for exactly this purpose. The second thing is the complete absence of news, notifications, and input for the first 10 minutes. This is the one most people do the opposite of, and the cost of doing it the opposite way is specific and measurable. Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford has described the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking as the period during which the brain is in a uniquely plastic, impressionable state, high in theta brainwaves, the frequency associated with creativity and open associative thinking, before the more rigid beta wave patterns of focused daily cognition take over. This window is the one in which the brain is most capable of the kind of broad, generative thinking that produces the ideas, solutions, and clarity most people spend the rest of the day trying to access. Filling it immediately with notifications means filling it with other people's agendas, other people's emergencies, and the specific low-grade anxiety of a world that has not waited for anyone to be ready before demanding a response. The Japanese morning allows this window to belong to the person waking, not to whoever sent a message at 11 p.m. the night before. The Japanese word mezamashi captures something the English word waking does not. The idea of waking as a gradual emergence, a transition that belongs to the person making it. The phone check converts this transition into an interruption. 10 minutes without input is not a productivity strategy. It is the return of the morning to the person whose morning it is. The third thing is natural light, received within the first 10 minutes of being upright, not through a window, outside. The distinction matters because glass filters the specific spectrum of light the brain uses to calibrate the circadian clock, the internal timing system that regulates not just sleep and waking, but cortisol production, mood, appetite, focus, and immune function across the entire 24-hour cycle. The Japanese practice of sanpo, a short, unhurried morning walk to nowhere specific, is not exercise. It is light medicine delivered in the only format the brain accepts it. Research from Dr. Sachin Panda at the Salk Institute has established that morning light received through the eyes within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking is the primary signal the circadian system uses to anchor the day's hormonal timing. Get the light early and the timing runs correctly. Cortisol, serotonin, melatonin, each one arriving when it should. Miss the light and the timing drifts, often in ways that do not become apparent until midday arrives with less energy than it should, or midnight arrives without the sleep that should have been accumulating all day. 5 minutes outside is enough. Not a walk for fitness, not a walk with a destination or a podcast or a step counter running. Just outside, in the light, for 5 minutes, before the day has asked for anything more complex than that. The fourth thing, the one that takes under 60 seconds and changes the body's chemistry before anything else has had the chance to. Cold water on the face and wrists. Not a cold shower. That is a different practice requiring a different kind of motivation. Just the tap, cold, for 30 to 60 seconds on the face and the inner wrists. The vagus nerve, the longest nerve in the body running from the brainstem through the heart and into the abdomen, passes close to the skin's surface at the inner wrists and the face. Cold water contact at these points stimulates the vagus nerve directly, triggering a rapid parasympathetic response. Heart rate steadies, cortisol begins its natural regulated descent from the morning peak, the nervous system shifts from its default waking alertness toward a calmer, more focused readiness. In Japan, cold water has been used to begin the day for centuries. In traditional Shinto practice, in the cold water rituals of Buddhist temples, in the modern everyday version of simply splashing the face at a cold tap before anything else happens in the bathroom. The reasoning was never articulated as neuroscience. It did not need to be. The effect was always self-evident to anyone who tried it consistently. The morning that begins with cold water on the face is a different morning from the one that does not. 4 things. No elaborate ritual required, No 45-minute routine, no special equipment, no motivation beyond the simple understanding that the first 10 minutes of the day are the most consequential 10 minutes of the day, and that what fills them determines, more than anything that follows, what kind of day the next 16 hours become. The man in Kyoto who leans against his window frame each morning and watches the street for a few minutes before his shoes go on has never once described this as a routine. It is simply what waking looks like when it is allowed to be what it is, a beginning that belongs to the person beginning it, before the day arrives to claim it. Which of these 4 are you trying tomorrow morning? Leave it in the comments. I will see you in the next one.